What's up, everybody? Today we're going to do a quick update on Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. Each of them has some very important stuff going on with their price right now, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that is, what I'm expecting next, and what I'm doing right now with each of them. So we have a good bit to get into today, so let's not waste any more time, and let's dive straight into Ethereum. So looking at the Ethereum price, what we can see is that it has now officially created an ascending structure. This is actually something that I pointed out over on my Instagram yesterday, because this is something that you need to be watching closely. Guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to lie. These sorts of ascending structures are not great. It's not particularly something you want to see forming here in the crypto market because historically speaking, they will break to the downside. Ascending structures are incredibly hard for cryptocurrencies to maintain because it's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure from support just trying to force the price up consistently over and over again. And if you don't have a lot of bullish buying momentum and a bullish buying power, it's going to be hard for this bad boy to be able to maintain just always going up. Oftentimes, again, they will break down and then use that breakdown as a reset to then pursue some sort of pump afterwards without trying to be forced up by the structure, right? And what we can see is, again, that ETH's price is now at the bottom side of this structure, currently trying to make a decision of whether or not it is going to stay in this structure or not. Now, historical performative data states that in this scenario, while in a bull market and in an ascending structure, it does have a better chance of going to the upside than it would in a bear market. But it still does state that we are in a position in which ETH has a 60% chance of breaking towards the downside, which is, of course, the more likely scenario in this situation. Now, when you pair that with the fact that Ethereum on the 30-day still has a ton of liquidations to the downside, I mean, a lot to the upside as well, but still a lot to the downside, and on the 1-day has more liquidations to the downside, I think it's very plausible to assume that ETH easily could see some sort of pullback, and I would find myself in agreement that there is about a 60% chance of ETH coming to the downside. Now, if that scenario does arise, if ETH's price does decide that it is going to lose some support here, one, I think that is the better thing to happen because it can open us up for more sustainable gains in the mid to long term. But two, I would be preparing the dollar cost average because I do believe that even if its price does pull back, it'll come down, try to find some support, and then use that support to continue upwards sometime towards the end of the year. Okay. And so my way of handling that and preparing for the scenario in which ETH's price does pull back is I am actually laying out 3 buy zones that I'm going to be doing some dollar cost averaging at if this scenario does arise. Now, the very first buy zone that I'm going to be taking on is $4,062. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because this is what's called a bounce zone. When you have an ascending level of, or an ascending structure like this, and you break to the downside of it, the first level that you should bounce off of is the level that was created the last time that you hit the bottom side of that structure. So do you see the last time that we hit this bottom side of the structure was right here? That would then put ETH in a position to where if it lost support, it would come back down to this key support, and that's of course called the bounce zone. So in the bounce zone, I would go ahead and I would do a small dollar cost average because there is an opportunity for ETH to just bounce off of this and continue upwards. The reason why it is a small dollar cost average though is because it would be difficult. It would be hard for ETH to make that move towards the top side. So you just need to be aware that, like, although this is a bounce zone, it's not like the best support ever. Now, below the $4,062 level, there are also 2 more levels of support that I would be willing to do some purchasing at. And those are, of course, as you can see, $3,850 and $3,600. Now, the reason why these are 2 key zones of support for me is because they are Fibonacci extension breakdown levels. So for example, if we were to draw in our Fibonacci's from this previous low up to this high, as you can see, let's go ahead and draw that in. What you can see is that we have 2 Fibonacci extension levels to the downside. The first one being, of course, that $3,850 level, the next one being that $3,600 level. And all that would imply is that if Ethereum's price was to start breaking down past this previous low, the extension levels that it would likely head down towards, the breakdown targets, would be $3,850 and $3,600. And so knowing that these are the breakdown targets, I think that ETH could find a decent amount of success trying to use these targets to reverse back up towards the upside. And coincidentally enough, this actually does align pretty decently with our bottom side Fibonacci golden zone as well. As you can see, the Fibonacci golden zone does end at 3650, so it is a little bit higher than the support. So it does give us a little bit of room if we wick below that Fibonacci golden zone. And so all in all, if you don't care about the technicals, you just need to understand that $4,000, $3,850, and $3,600 are 3 levels that have a very high likelihood of pushing Ethereum's price back up towards the upside. And so as a result of that, I am going to do some accumulating on each one of these levels, doing a small purchase here, a medium purchase here, and a large purchase here. Again, increasing the size of those dollar cost averages the lower it goes, because the lower it goes, goes, the more likely it is to reverse back towards the upside. Okay, there are still a lot of liquidations to the top side. There are still a lot of people who will lose if ETH's price goes up. So even if ETH's price does pull back out of this channel, I still think it has more than enough reason to push back towards the upside. Now, again, this is a 60% chance. I do still think that there is a percentage chance that ETH's price does push towards the upside. Again, this is only 40%. And even if it does push to the upside, the likelihood of it being able to break through the top side of this ascending channel is going to be incredibly difficult. This is a very steep move. This is going to be a very difficult move to conquer. It's going to be a very difficult move to do. And I think that even if ETH again does make a run all the way up to $5,000, it is more likely it does get rejected and pull back to some of these levels and maybe just rides this channel for a while, because making this move would take euphoria. I mean, we're talking about a move on ETH of 40% over the course of, what could be a couple days or a couple weeks. It'd just be very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, and ETH has done it before. It would just be very hard, right? So I'm not banking on something like this happening, but I do know that, of course, there is still a decent chance we do at least make a run back up towards $5,000. And so because of that, I am, of course, somewhat optimistic in thinking that that could happen. Under the scenario in which ETH does make a move back up to this side of the channel, I am going to be doing some profit taking just because my average cost on Ethereum is $1,700 still. And so I am willing to do some profit taking on ETH at any given point where I can lock in some beautiful gains while we do have a massive zone of resistance sitting right here. Anytime that ETH would cross, above the 75% to 100% threshold, this little box right here, this is my profit taking zone for ETH. So if it is able to make a move up here, great. I'll take some profits off the table. If it pulls back towards the downside, I'm just going to reinvest back in. As you all know, I did take a lot of profits off of ETH right here and right under this peak right here. And so again, I'm just kind of playing with profits right now. If we pull back, I'll reinvest some of my profits. If we push up, I'll just take more profit. Everything is about profit, and that's where I am. So with ETH, the best thing to do in my homework for you is to go in and draw on your channel from, of course, this high to this high. It will automatically connect the parallel channel from this low to this low, and just watch very closely what happens here and just be prepared for both options. Many of you will say, well, so you're just saying it could go up or it could go down? Yeah, that's what crypto does, guys. It goes up, it goes down, and no one can predict what it's going to do. The best thing that you can do is prepare for what happens next and put systems and structures and solutions in place to capitalize on anything that it does, rather than trying to just hope for the best and guess what's going to happen, okay? And so this is my plan. This is my strategy for Ethereum. And now let's take a look at what's going on with Solana. Now, before we get into that, though, I want to take a quick second to tell you about CRAT D2C. Now, CRAT D2C is a company that I recently partnered with, and at its core, it transforms the e-commerce industry by facilitating direct connections between businesses and consumers. So they recognize, like, hey, there is a massive issue in the world of e-commerce in the sense that people just don't have direct connection and access to the companies that they're interacting with. And so they went and took a Web3 route on it by creating a Web3 platform that would basically just plug all of those gaps. It serves as an e-commerce trading portal, a real estate trading portal, a luxury lifestyle booking portal with a universal payment gateway, and much more, with the whole idea, again, being to solve this core issue, this core dilemma here in the world of e-commerce. Now, in order to do this, they've created this entire platform on a layer 1 DPoS. Now, if you don't know what this means, it's simply just a layer 1 blockchain, and the reason they took this approach is so that it could be fast and very secure. Because if you have a platform, you need it to be fast or people won't use it. You need it to be secure or people won't use it. And so they did take, of course, a layer 1 DPoS approach, which I think is the best approach for any platform, especially in this nature. Now, since it is a layer 1, it means that there is going to be a native coin, which is, of course, the CRAT coin. It has a max supply of 300 million. Its latency is 0.5 to 3 seconds, which is very, very fast, as, of course, a result of the layer 1 architecture. And it has, of course, TPS of up to 100,000. So it's very good, it's very fast, and I think it will work very, very well. Now, they are going to be launching this token or this coin very soon, and they're going to be hosting that launch over on the ProBit Global launchpad. There's going to be multiple rounds to this, so you'd say this is something that you can check out over the next couple days, and it is going to be down below. There's a ton of interesting information over here if it is something that you want to learn more about, but they are going to be doing this with a hard cap of 2 million USDT, and that is something that is probably going to be pretty easily filled by them because ProBit Global is a very, very good launchpad. So I'm going to leave the link to this down below. If it is something that interests you, feel free to check it out. Again, I am partnered with them because I think this is going to be very strong, and I'm probably going to add some of the CRAT token or CRAT coin to my own personal bag. So I'll keep you updated on that, but I'll leave the links down below if you want to go check out CRAT D2C. So looking at Solana next, what we can see is that it's also in its own version of a bearish structure, as it has now created some sort of ascending triangle. Now, ascending triangles, very similarly to ascending channels, are bearish, and they do, based on historical performance performative data have a higher percentage chance of breaking to the downside than the upside. Now, in this scenario, with an ascending triangle of this nature, the breakdown percentage is actually a little bit higher. It's actually right around 65%. The 65% chance that Solana's price will break down compared to only a 35% chance that it will break through the top side. Now, again, don't get me wrong, anything can happen. We could get some very, very big news, some great news, some huge news that could put us in a scenario where the market goes euphoric and Solana rallies out of this. Maybe some sort of huge Solana ETF starts gaining a whole bunch of traction. Next thing you know, Solana absolutely takes off. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's not as likely. It's much easier for it to just pull back than it is for some sort of miraculous euphoric move to push it up towards $260. And so knowing that Solana is in a bit of a, bearish pattern right now, and knowing that there is a decent chance that it does pull towards the downside, I'm just going to do the same exact thing that I'm doing with ETH. I'm just going to prepare to buy the dip. Because why? Well, because I don't think that the bull market's over. I still think that cryptos are going to see all-time highs. I think Solana's going to see an all-time high. I think ETH's going to see an all-time high. And so I am willing to dollar cost average back in on some of these lows. What you have to remember is that back in December of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, we were taking buttloads of profit off the table, guys. I mean, we were locking in profit here and here and here. I mean, we were absolutely selling like madmen, knowing that, Solana was getting a little bit high. It was getting a little bit euphoric. And so we still have all of this profit to play around with. As a matter of fact, we've also taken some profits recently as a result of this move towards the upside that we got when we pushed back up above $200. So we have profit from way back here. We have profit from the last couple months. And so we're willing to throw some of that profit back in if I can buy at a cheaper price. Buy high, sell low. Doesn't work around here, baby. We sell high, then we buy low. You got to go against the grain because funnily enough, most people buy high and sell low. They'll buy a little bit of Solana here. They'll sell it when it starts to pull back. They'll freak out. Then it'll pump. Then they rebuy it. No. That's not what we do. When it pumps and everyone's all excited, we take profits off the table. And if things get ugly, guess what? We're going to go in and we're going to buy the dip. Okay. So where am I going to be buying at? Well, it's very simple. I have two core zones that I'm going to be purchasing at. The first one being at $157. The second one being at $126. Now, the reason why I did lay out these levels specifically is because these are your bounce zones. Remember, we have this ascending triangle, this ascending wedge, whatever you want to call it. And if Solana's price is to break to the downside, these are the two key levels of support that you would have. You have $157 based on this previous low here. You have $126 based on this previous low here. Now, one thing that I would like to point out is that there is a massive level of resistance, a previous point of resistance and a previous point of support. As you see, support right back here, this little move right here. And then, of course, we had this resistance right here. So it is a possibility that Solana would also try to find some support on $184, but this would just be a bit of a smaller one for me. So let's go in. Let's put it, right? Let's put it, but it's definitely not one of my massive levels of support for sure. And so these are my three levels that I would be buying at. I'd be doing small purchases at 184. I'd be doing medium-sized purchases at 157. I'd be doing really big purchases with 126. And don't forget, I still do have that short trade open over on Discord that I told you about and showed you over the last few videos. And I just have, it's not a big trade, but it would just be some extra cash that I could throw in. I have that short trade on Solana open. And so, for example, say if we do pull back to 157, I might close that bad boy down, take a couple $100 worth of profit and throw those couple $100 in as well right here to make this a medium/large trade, right? So there are opportunities here, but this is the game we play, right? And this is why it always feels good when you take some profits off the table, because now you're not scared, right? Now you're in a spot to where it's like, all right, well, if Solana wants to pull back, let it. I still think right now is a good time to take some profits off the table. If I'm being honest with you, you could take some little profit off the table, not everything, but a little bit. And if it pushes through the channel and goes up, great, just take more profit. But if it pulls back, now you are able to sell the highs and then you have some cash available to buy it if it does start dipping down and breaking through the bottom side of this channel. And so again, I know some of you are going to say, Tyler, you're fudding. Tyler, you're being bearish. Tyler, you're betting it's going to go down. Guys, I don't want it to go down. I'm just telling you the historical performative data. Don't kill the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what it's done historically, and I'm preparing for that possibility of a move, okay? And so I'm laying out my three buy zones here for Solana, and I'm ready to fight this bad boy. If that's what needs to happen, that's what needs to happen. We do have a massive zone of resistance that we're in right now. The Fibonacci golden zone is consistently rejecting Solana's price down, and there is a world in which it doesn't break through this golden zone, and it just gets rejected. It tries to find some support, comes back up, and then breaks the golden zone. Who cares? I'm fine with that. I'll buy the dip. I'll take profits when it pumps. Cool. Let's do it. So moving into the next one, let's talk about XRP. Okay. So XRP is actually in a decent spot. I will say XRP is in a little bit of a better spot than the other two, and that's because it is in a descending structure. So XRP had initially and was originally trying to create some sort of bull pennant, I would say, which is some sort of structure in which you get an equilateral triangle like this, and then whenever your crypto asset enters into it, it will typically try to break towards the upside. Now, this upside break is actually a bit of a 60% chance, 65% chance, but XRP is kind of seeing the pressure of the crypto market really bringing it down right now. And so because of that, it did start struggling, and it is currently breaking towards the downside of that bullish pennant. Now, I will give it props. It is trying incredibly hard right now to battle its way back into the pennant. So I'm not going to say that this pennant for sure has been lost quite yet. I will say I did think it was. This is a bit of a shocker to me because I did think it did officially lose this support here. But hey, XRP made a bit of a rally, and it was able to get back into the structure for a second time after failing right here, right? And so what XRP is doing right now is quite simple. It's just a battle of structure. XRP is saying, okay, I'm going to try my absolute best to get back in this bullish pennant and try to break back above it. That's what it's going to try to do, okay? And if XRP fails to make this move, what's going to happen is that this bullish pennant's going to disappear, and XRP is now going to be in some sort of massive descending channel that could bring it back down to like 250 or something along those lines. And what it's going to do is it's going to range in this bad boy, probably bouncing from the lows to the highs a couple times before trying to make a move back up towards the upside. XRP has a decent chance of breaking through that blue line of resistance up here. The question is just how low does it go before that happens? Now, sure, there is a world in which XRP does that and it falls below the bottom side of this red line. It's just not what it normally will do. Again, it is possible. I'm not going to pretend like it's impossible. I would just say that XRP breaking through the bottom side of this is like a 20% chance, right? And I would say if it does that, it's just solely in pursuit of this previous point of support right here, this ascending level support. But again, I would call that a 20% chance. I think it's an 80% chance that even if XRP's price is not capable of recovering back into this pennant and it does continue downwards, that it'll just bounce around in this structure, in this descending channel, and then we'll try to make a move back up towards the upside and try to push upwards. So my plan for XRP is actually pretty damn simple. I'm not going to do anything while we're at the green line. If we push towards the blue line, I'm going to take a little bit of profit. Okay, so small, take profit. If we do, get up to the blue line. If we break through the blue line, I'm going to lay out some take profit levels that I'm going to follow. The first one likely being at like $3.39. The next one being at like $3.67. Just because, again, my average cost of XRP is 67 cents. So knowing that I'm up a nice little 4 or 5x, yeah, I'm going to go off and I'm just going to take a little bit of profit off the table just in case we create some sort of big double top or something like that, right? So if XRP's price continues upwards, I'm going to first take profits at the blue line. I'm going to next take profits right there around that 339 level. Then I'm going to next take profits right around the top of that pennant that we created up there. Now, if XRP's price does pull the downside, I am going to do what? I'm just going to buy the bottom. Of course I am. I'm going to go in. I'm going to dollar cost average on some XRP anytime we get towards the bottom side of this, of course, descending structure right here. And I'm going to take a little bit of profits. I'm just going to trade the range right here. I'm either going to trade the range or I'm just going to let it ride. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I don't know if I am going to take profits right here towards the top side or if I'm just going to let it ride. Dollar cost average the bottoms and then just wait for it to try to break to the top side because it does have such a decent chance of being able to break to the top side. So I would actually say that XRP is in a bit of a better spot than Ethereum and Solana in the macro sense. And so it is definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on, but just kind of holding off on right now. I'm not doing any buying. I'm not doing any selling. I'm either going to buy at the bottom of this macro structure. I'm going to sell at the top of this macro structure, or I'm going to do big buys if we break to the downside, big sells if we break to the top side. And I'm just going to let it ride like that. Guys, my strategy is always basically the same. I think you can kind of tell that at this point. I scoop the lows, I buy the lows, I sell the highs, and I don't break that system. I've done it over and over and over again for years at this point. I mean, I started documenting my Bitcoin buys and sells over the last like 8 months, 9 months. We're coming up on a year now that I've been publicly documenting any time that I buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin. And look at this. I mean, I consistently just stick to the strategy of scooping the lows and selling the highs. And that's why when most people are break even on their Bitcoin positions, which is crazy, most people over the last like 7 to 9 months are break even on their Bitcoin positions, we are dramatically in a profit. Not only do we have unrealized profit on the table, we have a lot of realized profit because we have consistently bought the lows and sold the highs and have done it over and over and over again. And I'm not going to change that up. I'm doing the same exact thing for Ethereum. If its price wants to break to the bottom side of the structure, I'm going to do the same exact thing for Solana. If it loses this structure, I'm going to do the same thing for for XRP if it continues in this structure, because I'm under the belief that they are all going to find some support, whether it be now or whether it be in a month, and try to use that support to push up towards higher levels and try to give us some sort of gains towards the end of this year. And look, at the end of the day, sure, I may be wrong. Maybe each Solana, XRP, and the whole entire crypto market has already put in its all-time high for this market, and we just head into a bear market. But the truth be told, guys, let me ask you something. If crypto does this and then it starts to enter into a bear market, say this is the bear market, and you know that you are going to invest during this bear market, it's not like you're just going to not invest in anything during the bear market. Where would you rather invest at? Where would be the best time to invest at? The support levels, the levels right before bounces, the levels that could give you that return back to the upside. You would want to be buying support during bear markets. So even if I am wrong, and Ethereum, Solana, XRP, they all do go into a bear markets, well, guess what? I'm still buying at the best times possible. This is a win-win scenario. Option number one is I buy these bad boys and they do something like this. Boom. And we catch it. We find that support. We ride it to the upside. Option number two is we go into a bear market and at least I was buying in the best times possible. It is a win-win if you have a long enough time horizon, and that I do, okay? So that's my game plan for for Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm watching right now. If you are trading XRP, Solana, or Ethereum, you can sign up to go trade over on BTCC today. Guys, you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses and lower trading fees if you use my link specifically down below. And if you want extra updates from me on a daily basis regarding the crypto market, feel free to go follow me on Instagram. I'll leave that down there. You're going to be able to get some behind the scenes footage. I mean, you can see I post a little behind the scenes footage every single day, whether I'm going live, whether it's just, about fight stuff. As you guys know, I am a professional fighter, so I post a whole bunch of stuff on there as well. So feel free to go follow me over on Instagram if that does interest you, and just keep a very close eye on these things we talked about today. There's some very big decisions happening in the crypto market and regarding these structures, so you need to be watching it closely. But as per usual, I'll be here every step of the way updating you as it all does play out. So as you do leave this video, all that I ask is that you have a great day. You smash that like button on the way out, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.